everyone. This is Lisa Haven, and I've got some important information to share with you guys. And that is this. About a year ago, there was a set of mysterious white fibers that were discovered by Snow and Corey Gunnels that hit the land in Chino Valley, Arizona, covering the area with these white long fibers. Now, that happened back 2014 in December. Well, let's fast forward to today, or actually October 30th is when this all went down. And once again, these mysterious white fibers have returned, once again by KC-130 military aircraft, and they have blanketed the area, not only in Chino Valley, but in some of the Prescott proper area, including Dewey. Now, I've got some photos that I'm going to show you. I'm also going to bring on Corey Gunnels herself so she can give you a quick breakdown of that. But before I bring her on the broadcast, I want to show you two real quick documents that prove without a doubt that the government is doing weather modification. They're seeding the clouds, and this is happening with chemtrail. And then I want to take you to a very important activist website, geoengineering watch.org. Let's first dive in those documents, but stay on here because I'm going to be bringing on Corey Gunnels in just a moment. Okay, so here we are first and foremost on geoengineeringwatch.org. That's also this activist website, but a lot of the information is coming from here. Now, let me scroll down to this document that has come out specifically in regards to weather modification. All right, so here that is. Notice first and foremost the date on this, May 1978. And what this document does when you read it in its entirety is proves that the government has been messing around with cloud seeding, weather modification, would be even HARP. In this case, it's straight up geoengineering, which is exactly, or people also call that chemtrails, but I'm going to use geoengineering for now. That is the proper term. But that is exactly what happened once again in Chino Valley, Arizona, that I'm going to talk about with Corey in a moment. But what I want you to note here is basically it states the federal government has been involved for over 30 years in a number of aspects of weather modification through activities of both the Congress and the executive branches. It goes on to say that since 1947, weather modification bills pertaining to research, operations, policies, regulations, liabilities, so on and so forth, have been introduced in the Congress. In other words, they're well aware of it. They know what's going on. Now, I don't want to read all of these, but I'm going to link it so you guys can. But here, this is also important as well. In a recent article contributed by the Tri-State Natural Weather Association to a nationally circulated publication devoted to organic agriculture, the following evils were brought on by weather modification. It says, here's some of the bad things that could happen. A 5-year drought in the Northeast U.S. Isolated sections experience 18 years of drought. Weather disturbances in the South Atlantic have been eliminated and has reduced the East Coast rainfall by 30%. The average dairy farmer on the East Coast living in the areas of cloud seeding has averaged a net financial loss because of cloud seeding. Corp production loses in Franklin County also have an amount to 50 million. When efforts of seeding wear off, cloudbursts occur, causing floods, destroying crops, buildings, drowning people, as well as livestock. Seeding has been responsible for air pollution, mental retardation, and insanity are traceable in cloud seedings. Poisoning of all living matter is directly related to cloud seeding. Okay, this cloud seeding is geoengineering. That is what they're doing. But it goes on. Cancer is out of proportion. Financial losses to agriculture also higher. That's why our food is going up. Forest trees as well as cultivated orchards are dying from chemical reactions. The atmosphere has been rendered completely biologically incapable with all living matter, including animals, plants, and obviously humans there. Lots of good information to read there, but let me take you to another one because that's not the only report. Here's another report put out on November 1966, a recommended national program in weather modification. Now, what I want you to note, and I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but this entire project is basically just all on weather modification and the effects of cloud seeding. Let me read to you just this section here. Over the past 20 years, experiments have been conducted on weather modification, particularly on the effects of cloud seedings with such materials as silver iodine crystals. Here is an example. Remember, this was put out in 1966. If we go back 20 years, because they've been experimenting, that would put us in 1946, or basically your 1940s. And back at that time, it was only silver iodine crystals. However, now we know they're using many types of metals, including aluminum, strontium, barium, and the like. If one just tilts their heads to the sky, we can oftentimes see those white streaks glazing overhead. But geoengineering is literally destroying the agriculture. Now, once again, I'm going to leave this. Let's go to those photos that Corey Gunnels put out. All right, here's the first one. These were taken October 30th, and actually these images were grabbed by Bob Bush. So credit goes to him for taking those. But as you can see here, these are the white fibers clearly seen falling from the sky. Those aren't scratches on your screen here. Those are white fibers indeed. Here's them captured on the power lines as well. So some pretty staggering photos that you can see there. Now let me also take you to a video clip right here, and this was by Marie Snow.
This is Marie Snow. It is October 30th, 2015. It is after 4 o'clock, and I am videotaping the fibers
right here
that are basically covering the telephone pole and the wires. Hopefully you can see.
All right, so there you have it. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and bring on Mrs. Gunnels for round 2 of these mysterious white fibers that you just saw on the video and the images. All right, hi Corey, you with me?
I'm with you.
Awesome. Now, can you tell the viewers, because I know you and I and Marie Snow had an interview a year ago about, yes. Can you tell us the first time that these mysterious white fibers hit the ground, the date on that as well, and what happened?
Sure. Last year, it was almost exactly a year ago. It was November 5th of 2014.
So earlier a little bit than I thought. It was right around the same time.
Almost exactly at the same time. And in that occasion, I happened to be outside and heard a aircraft coming that was unusual. It was very loud, and looked up and saw very, very low a KC-130 that was followed immediately on its tail by two other planes. And that's when I called my friend who lived in the direction that the planes were headed, asked her if she could go outside and witness the same. And she did, and that is when she saw them and then saw material falling. So, you know, we want to be really careful and make sure we say, we didn't see it falling from the plane, like, you know, dumping of bales out or, you know, packages.
Right.
But the sky, the correlation was the planes went over, the sky then filled with the filaments that started falling. And it did take a couple minutes for me to see them as well, because the wind was coming from the east and then coming in my direction. So on that occasion, the filaments were falling for about an hour's time. And what we did with that was, you know, filed many reports, official reports with Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, the EPA, called the FAA, called both Air Force bases in Arizona, called the legislators, newspapers, media, so forth. So the end result of that was we did have certified testing done, and it did come back positive for aluminum, barium, and strontium.
Which we know is the perfect cocktail for geoengineering.
It is.
And I'm going to leave those links too for viewers. I don't have them on the screen, but they'll be below for you guys.
Both 2 samples were sent in, and both tested positive. So interestingly enough, this year, I was at home inside doing my thing.
And this is on October 30th, right? This is the
October
second
30th
time.
This year,
Okay.
just this past Friday.
Yep.
And same friend, Marie Snow, called me and she said KC-30 just went over. And so, I didn't really think too much of it because we do have aircraft going over. It turned out that there were three. She did get a photograph of the planes.
Oh, good.
And then, unfortunately, once again, the sky filled with these filaments, very heavy, very, very heavy. And I could see them. I asked my husband to go out. He saw them. I called my son, who was working downtown, which is about 8 to 10 miles from our location. He saw them. There were some coating his work truck. Right. And so I decided to post it on Facebook right away and ask anybody that was in the immediate area to go out, and I instructed them how to witness it. It's very hard to see unless you do it correctly. And what you need to do is face the sun and put your hand up over the sun and then look at the sky. Or even if it, let me tell you, Lisa, if it's behind a cloud, you can't see this. It's the most interesting thing. But if you put your hand up over the sun and you look, you can see it from as high as you can possibly see in the sky, falling down. And
that's good to know for our viewers out there. And I know you guys actually caught them on the wire as well, like floating off the wire and the flagpoles, which is the images I showed the viewers a moment ago. But I think that's imperative what you're saying about the hand, because that is a way you can definitely see it.
It's very light. It stays aloft. That day was very windy here, and I am in a kind of a semi-rural area. It's called Williamson Valley. So when we get wind, we get pretty good wind, and it kept it aloft here. In Chino Valley, which is where she saw it, it was starting to come down and get caught. So this persisted this time. Instead of just an hour, this started at about 11:30 in the morning, and it continued heavy until 5:30 when the sun went down, when you could no longer see it. And so anyway, as a result of me posting it, there were a few people in the area that did witness it. And we did, evidently you posted some of the photographs that were excellent. I mean, it really shows. And so we have three different samples that we know of this time. There may have been some people that gathered some material too. We're still finding out. But we'll send in 3 different samples.
Great.
Again.
And I'll keep the viewers up to date as those samples come in, but I can only imagine they're going to be the same as the last time.
I think so.
I mean, same scenario, almost to the T a year later. I was thinking it was more December of last year that you guys had it. No, it's even closer than I had imagined. And you know what really makes me wonder, and I know the mainstream KP, who was it, Channel 5 or?
KPHO Channel 5, which is CBS affiliate in Phoenix.
Yes, and they completely lied and, said it was cow gauze when here we have the evidence for there's not going to be cow gauze first and foremost in a military aircraft. And a year later we have the military aircraft over again. I mean, they must think we're, I don't know, we're not we're not your typical brainwashed, but we're awake. But what scares me,
the thing that was funny about that was, well, it wasn't funny, it was maddening. But
yeah.
They did travel to Prescott, which is about 100 miles northwest of Phoenix. They did travel to Prescott to do that story, and they interviewed Marie that day. They went out on site, and but they wouldn't take a sample in her presence.
Wow.
And she offered to give them part of our samples, and they wouldn't take it. So did they find some kind of veterinary gauze and submitted that for testing? I have no idea.
That's interesting. I didn't know that part where they didn't even do it in your presence. That's
right.
Yeah, that's...
And the other thing is Scott Davis. He is their, I'm trying to think of what his title is, but he's the gentleman I talked to from Channel 5, and I said, please don't run the story until we get our samples back.
Right.
It's very important to be credible. And, if there is something, certainly we can report it. Hopefully there isn't anything. And it turned out there was, and the story was already done and over and marginalized. And one of the other parts of that is the story was so bad and reported so poorly that it was laughable, but it was a perfect example of what mainstream does.
Exactly.
Even worse, Lisa, was because of that, the EPA must have Googled the story. Of course, they had our complaints, and I spoke to them on the phone and everything. But they Googled the story. They got the Channel 5 story, and they took that. They took those results over our certified labs that we had sent to them.
That's when you know it's all a part of their plan, so to speak,
Yeah.
to hide
So
it.
that's our, Environmental Protection Agency is relying on a poor report from mainstream media saying, must be okay.
And we've got the documentation to prove this stuff is going on. It's there.
Right.
And I showed the viewers a moment ago, and that's the great thing. But here's one thing that really worries me in this area, Corey, and that is I wonder if they're doing some kind of experimentation on the area, because it's almost impossible, not impossible, but I mean, to think of the coincidence. I mean, a year later, exact same scenario, exact same thing. And then we knew that they're lying it. The EPA covered hid the
Right.
story. We know
Right.
mainstream media lied about it. We know you gave them the report and they refused to wait till your samples came in. This
Right.
is all the way. This is the kind of stuff that alternative media, media people like myself who have to actually dive through the documentation because the lying media isn't portraying the real truth. And I think that we've got a perfect cocktail for evidence for geoengineering, in my opinion, for
I do
this
too.
story.
I think so too.
Now, are you guys worried about some kind of, experimentation that they're doing in the area? What is your...
It's always a thought, and it's a rational, logical thought. It could be a carrier. It could be a carrier for some type of biological. It could be,
Absolutely.
who knows? But, there are some people that talk about another phenomenon called the ballooning spider. And, I want evidence, and I want to look around, and I want this to be, as truthful of a report as anybody. And I did look into that. There is a phenomenon. But what I can tell you is that, and the material looks very similar when it's floating through the air, but this is happening around the world in all seasons. And one woman who's very, very good in Northeast Tennessee for documenting this, evidently they're hit all the time. It happens in even below zero weather. So a spider's not going to be floating through the air, little spiderlings, when it's below zero. It's also, their webs would not test for aluminum, barium, and strontium.
Right.
And, one of the other things is, if you've ever owned property or, outdoor sheds or fences or overhangs of houses, you'll get spider webs. I mean and they stay around for weeks, for months, until you get the broom and take them off. This stuff dissipates very quickly. I was out of town. I drove to Phoenix yesterday, so I didn't get to, tromp around the property too much, but I did look, and I couldn't see what I saw the day before. So it's very interesting. And also it clumps up very quickly. It's real sticky. So we'll see. We will send it in. We did again. We filed complaint reports with ADEQ and the EPA. And Marie did call Davis. She actually didn't call. She emailed Davis Monthan and asked for a return reply. Mm-hmm. I called our county supervisor, who I believe was out of town. But I left a message, and I also did call our local newspaper, who did a story on this again.
Good.
So, and Marie called Channel 5 again. Just to,
did they say anything this time?
They haven't responded yet.
Well, let me know if they do, and we'll get that to the viewers.
And but what she told them this time is, if I send you a certified, delivery of this material, will you take it to the same lab?
You should make sure you record it.
Exactly.
Get it.
Yeah.
Get
so
it down.
We'll see.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the broadcast. I know it was kind of last minute for you, so thank you again, Corey, and thanks
welcome,
for
and
being on the
thank
show.
you.
Oh, can
Stayed
you?
on it.
Can you tell us your, I know you have a Facebook page, and real quick, I want to encourage everybody to go to this Facebook page and get involved, because Corey and Marie Snow are both huge activists and they use and document this information. Can you tell us the link to that Facebook page?
Sure. It's called Geoengineering and then a hyphen fallout evidence.
Perfect. And I'll leave a link to that as well.
Okay.
Well, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right. Bye. So there you have it. Round 2's exactly a year later. We're talking within days. Same exact event happening in the Prescott proper area, Prescott and surrounding areas there. So lots to think about. But one last thing that I want to show you is there is hope coming from geoengineeringwatch.org. Let me show you something real quick, because I think this is important closure. Take a look at these signs that are being posted. This one is in Idaho. It says, "Skies poisoned by your government," geoengineeringwatch.org. This is why I think it's imperative to get yourselves out there and start getting involved in the Facebook group that Corey told you about, or come and sign up on this website as well, because they are major activists trying to clear our once dirty skies from things. But here's another one in Montana, and I just love it. Let's expose the lying media, the government, for the things that they're doing. And they've been experimenting, as I showed you in the beginning of this video, experimenting on people left and right with this. And here's another billboard. I just love this. This is in New Mexico, between Santa Fe and Albuquerque. And another in California, another in Utah. This is amazing, amazing stuff. So there you have it. Anyhow, wanted to bring you guys the latest on all that. Thank you for listening in. This is Lisa Haven signing off.